I'd like to, this is my probably third time visiting this country in the last 2 years. What's maybe unfortunate was I had not visited actually for many years while the political situation was a little bit more unstable. But when I first had an opportunity to come back here, what amazed me was that this country just seemed on the verge of a transformation. And I'd like to frame the transformation in the following concept. In the 1950s, when sort of at the turn of World War II, and once countries were starting to move forward, if you looked at the countries of Jamaica and Singapore, they were exactly the same. In terms of education, in terms of GDP, in terms of literacy, in terms of health, in terms of infant mortality, they were all the same. Except what the difference was that where one country didn't necessarily execute on its potential, another country decided to invest in human capital development. And they invested in infrastructure, they invested in a more progressive worldview, and the result 40 to 50 years later is sort of very clear to everybody, which is that Singapore is now one of the most important, advanced, and prosperous economies in the world, and unfortunately Jamaica has not advanced nearly as far. And so without beleaguering what happened to Jamaica, it's more important to focus on what happened in Singapore. And I think what happened was that there was a government and there was leadership that were able to do a handful of things. The first, that they were able to take a very long perspective view on the future of the population of the country. And the second was that they were able to invest in the infrastructure of the country in a way that set it up for long-term success, that tried to create a sense of equality. Those principles are things that I embrace quite deeply at Social Capital. During my time at Facebook, what became very obvious to me was that we were in the midst of a fundamental transformation in how the world worked. And the world historically was quite a hierarchical place. And it was defined very much by a very strict form of political ideology, social hierarchy, educational hierarchy. And all of those labels were starting to break because broad swaths of humans and humanity wanted the same opportunities as other people. And they wanted it to be defined by things other than their caste or their gender or things that they felt should not hold them back. And when I understood that deeply at Facebook, we were able to create a product that now, frankly, touches every single person in the world, ex-China. But we'll be in China soon too, maybe. And around 2011, after about 6 years there, what I came to the realization was that it was not enough for me to stay there and only work on that problem. Because this idea that there is an inequality in the world transcends a social networking site. And if you think about the problems that were not solved and still hadn't been solved, these issues of healthcare, education, financial access continue to compound and hold large amounts of humanity back. And that's why I decided to start Social Capital. And as an organization now, we've invested more than $1 billion over the last 4 years in all kinds of extremely interesting things that at its core create equality in diabetes, in cancer genomics, in education, in access to financial capital. And what's amazing about those investments is that at a very practical level, it's made us billions of more dollars. But at a much more important level, it showed me that the business model of the future is solving inequity. So a year ago, I had the opportunity to visit this country, and in succession, I met some of these people who I think are leading this country to a much more prosperous future. And so, I would like to thank the President, the Prime Minister, Ruan Wijewardena, Harun Fernando, Muantan Kanage. These people represent, in my opinion, an extremely compassionate and yet highly strategic view of the potential of the Sri Lankan people. And for me, quite honestly, The reason why I'm spending all of this time is less of a financial motive, but very much I feel a moral imperative to give back to this country where I was born. I don't, quite honestly, have a very strong tie to this country yet. I had one, but it was broken. It was broken by a really long-dated war that devastated large parts of this economy and affected most of the people in this country. But now that that's past us, I think there's an opportunity to now build really for the future. So why are we here, and why is Rama important? Jay will talk about this in a second, but it is beyond a shadow of a doubt that when you give people internet access, GDP goes up, literacy goes up, gender equality goes up, violence goes down. And so if we replay the tape of Jamaica versus Singapore, internet infrastructure is our version of Singapore's infrastructure. They are as important as roads and highways in this country. Because you will unlock people who I suspect are equally and probably more talented than myself to make this country and allow this country to live up to its potential. I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding to date about what Rama is. I think today will be an opportunity for us to dispel any misconceptions, to make sure that you understand why now amazing leaders like Chairman Sirisena, Hans, Dilipa, these individuals now at a very practical level, and the corporations that run this country have also understood why and how important Rama is. We will be working collectively to make sure that we make this project a reality over the next 12 to 18 months. We will bring universal internet access to this country. It will be the first country in the world that does that, and it will start what I hope is a process and a track record of investing in the human capital of this country. I hope as well to take this project all throughout the world, and over time what I suspect will happen is in success, the trail of breadcrumbs will lead back to this country and the people at this table. So before I think we open this up for Q&A and also give an opportunity for Haran to sort of give some closing remarks, I'd like to hand it over to Jay and just give you a very brief business and slightly technical summary of Rama so you understand the ground truth of what we are actually doing.